I've had to sort of learn to get really comfortable in my own skin and in my oddness, I guess. You know what I mean? And that, I think, is what I connect with when it comes to Elphaba. She'll never fit.
Cynthia Erivo would like to reintroduce herself. The Emmy, Tony, and Grammy-winning multi-hyphenate is entering a new chapter with a new album. It's called I Forgive You, that explores heartbreak and the process of putting yourself back together after you fall apart. And I'm so excited to say that Cynthia joins me now to talk a little bit about the record and about her career around it. Hi, welcome to the show. How are you?
So much. I'm good, thank you. Thank you for saying all those words. It was nice to hear that. Nice, thank you.
You know what I mean, though, because I think that when you are, especially since things got so much more famous for you because of Wicked, you were already, but you got Mount Rushmorean because of Wicked. How has that been? Is that freeing? Is it intimidating?
I think it might be a little bit of both. I think for me, I didn't really know how to do anything that wasn't honest. I knew that it was going to be honest, and so I just had to sort of bite the bullet and do it. And so I think the scary thing is now having to share it with people. The scary thing wasn't to write it. I think that was a natural thing that came to me, and then having to now share it, speak about it, that's where it becomes a little bit intimidating. That's where it becomes a little bit scary. Yeah.
What is the part of you that you're showing of yourself in this record that is scary? And I'll also add, what is the part of you on this record that you're showing that you're excited to show? Like what's scary, what's exciting?
I think the scary thing is to let people in a bit more. I think that's always been scary for me. I wear my heart on my sleeve, but it's sort of underneath a little cage so that you can't really get to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now it's sort of out in the open, and my heart is really out in front of me, and you can see like the heartbreak, and you can see that I have been forgiving and not forgiving in some places, and I have to put some things together again, and all the things that I've written have come from an honest place. And whilst it is scary, I think that's also the most exciting thing about it, that I get to give people a part of myself that I haven't really given before. I said at some point, I can't remember where I was, but I said that I was in the vulnerability era. And I always try to approach work with vulnerability, but I think this feels totally naked.
I think that, and I think that when people are, what that brings up for me is that I think when people are great actors, people can forget that they are not the people they expertly disappeared into. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, for sure. It's interesting because I've been sort of seeing people see me as Alphaba, or before it was seeing me as Harriet, or seeing me as Celie, and almost forgetting that there's a person within that character. The person there who is playing the character is also not the character. They have parts of the character because you have to connect in some way, but we are two separate beings. And so it's been an interesting thing trying to reintroduce myself as myself.
I promise I'm not just trying to butter you up. It's a consequence or a downside of actually being very good at the job, you know?
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a consequence of like, oh, she disappears. Yeah. I tell you, I met Kate Blanchett one time on this show, and she came in, and I said, when she sat down, I said, geez, I have no idea what she's going to sound like. Like, I have no idea what she's going to be like. I realized I knew nothing about her because I had been so engrossed by her performances. And I think that's the same with you.
Thank you. That's a lovely comparison. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be in the same ilk as Kate, who is lovely, by the way.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll send you my Venmo later. I want to play a little bit of one of the tracks from the record that I really love. Take a listen to this.
I'm a constant work in progress, and I can't keep fears at bay. And my mind is like a record stop on auto replay, 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 replay. And my mind is like a record stop on auto replay. That's a
great song. That hitting of replay, replay. Yeah. That's great. Tell me. let's talk about the journey of that song.
Yes.
What is that? What work is that song a reflection of? You know?
It is. So I've been in therapy for a while now, and the thing that kept coming up is that I'm really bad at asking for help. There are I talk about daddy issues and abandonment issues that come up in my that have happened in my real life that have sort of fed into my work and the way I connect with people or have connected with people in the past. And it just sort of became a train of thought to write down all of those things that I've been seeing of myself, the way that I sort of expect a person to leave because of what I've experienced before. And so I set myself up to be ready for when it happens, those kinds of things. And that was the journey of it. And I'm not entirely sure that that's what I set out to write, but because of what happens when you sort of create the music and then you start to write, that's what came out. And that sort of constant round robin of the music has made me feel like, oh, I can just speak and talk about what I experience and what I've been through and what keeps going on in my head and what I have to sort of be on the lookout for as me, Cynthia, because it never really, those things don't go away. They just get better over time. You sort of have to be aware of when you're doing certain things that have been ingrained in you. Yeah.
The other side of releasing a song like that is, and I appreciate what you said there, is that you do get a window into it. And there were verses in that song that really stuck out to me. Again, I'll put the boat in the water and you row it, but I'll tell you a verse that stuck out to me, which is, I'm the best overachiever. There's not anyone like me. And you'd think that was a good thing till you're told that that's not healthy. You spend every waking hour working hard to write your will, patiently waiting for validation till you're empty and unfilled. Can I ask you about that verse? Because I'm curious about it for a couple of reasons, but just tell me a little bit about it.
It's the understanding, because I'm one person that's like, I want to do really well. I want to achieve everything. And what I learned when I was in my therapy session is that that is not necessarily the healthiest thing, to keep trying to get more, to do the best possible thing, because you never leave space to fail. And that's the problem. When you're trying to overachieve, it's not just achieving, it's going past achievement. And when you're going past achievement, you're actually setting yourself up for harder falls, lower falls. And when they happen, it's harder to recover. And I know that. And it's the idea that you're sort of, you keep going, and all it is that you're working as hard as you can until you die.
Yeah.
And you forget to live.
Yeah.
As well.
And the thing that you're overachieving with the idea of, I'm going to get, there is a top of the mountain, and then what? Then there's not.
Then what? Yeah.
What is the tension then between this overachievingness has given me wealth and comfort and security and safety for both me and my family, while it's all like that overachieving is probably a part of that.
Yeah.
While at the same time it's been harmful, it's been hurtful,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the balance. And what you realize is that because I love my work, I love being able to do it, and I love like doing well. But what happens is every time you get a little further away from not doing well, the not doing well gets really scary. You get really frightened failing.
Yeah.
And failing is a part of human nature. Not doing well is a part of nature. It's how you learn. And if you become afraid of failing, you're also becoming afraid of learning and actually maybe potentially doing better, doing differently.
Were you a kid like that? Like, were you an overachieving kid?
I think maybe I was, but I think I think it became a real thing in my teenagehood. I think when I was a kid, I just loved doing what I did. You sort of, you can sing to people wherever you are. I don't really know whether you're doing it right or not. You're just kind of going for it. And I think I started to understand what it was to really do well when I became a teenager, sort of 16, 17. Yeah.
The story I heard, and it's a famous story by now, I think, that you were in a nativity play.
Yes.
And you were 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was the night that I think performance. Would you mind telling the story? Are you tired of telling it? Could you tell it?
Yeah. So I was in a nativity play when I was 5. I was playing a shepherd. For some reason, they asked me to sing Silent Night by myself. I don't know why. I think it was because I was not a shy kid. I didn't, I wasn't quiet, and they were like, "Well, she'll sing it. It's fine." And I really enjoyed doing it, and it's probably the first time that I remember singing in front of people. And I loved what it did to people. I loved how happy it made people. Now, I can't tell you that it was amazing. I can't tell you that it sounded wonderful. I just know that whatever came out of my mouth made people smile and made people happy. And from that moment on, I knew that I wanted to continue doing that. So I kept seeking out opportunities to sing or perform or be in front of people and do that. Yeah.
Well, I have a clip of it, actually. No, I'm only joking. I don't. I'm just kidding around.
I wish you did. I would love to, like, what was this 5-year-old like? How did she sound?
That was that was pre-phones, right? So we don't.
So no recordings of any of that stuff. It's just photographs.
I mean, it's intoxicating, man. It's intoxicating to be good at something. It's intoxicating to have adults tell you that you're good at something. I mean, I can relate to that. It's intoxicating to have people, when you're a kid, say, "Hey, you're good,"
Of course. But then there's that extra thing of like, I want to make sure that I'm good. So then I became really curious about what I could do with my voice. And then I started studying other singers and listening to lots of music and like rehearsing pieces of music and singing after people and emulating. And then you start to learn about your craft and you start to actually love the thing you do. It's not just about, oh, can I sing it in front of people? But it becomes about, oh, I love how this feels to do.
Was there a singer you heard or a song you heard that when you sang that or heard them, you were like, yeah, that's it. That's what I want to do. That's the one.
Brandy. It was Brandy. Never, from the album Never Say Never. The song Almost Doesn't Count.
Why that one?
I don't know. It just was. I remember I was 11 years old. The album came out, and I was like, "This is it." I was so sure. I played that album so much. I wrote her a letter.
Did you?
I did. I wrote her a letter.
What did the letter? Just like saying, "Hey, I like you a lot," or
like angsty, like 11-year-old being like, "I love this album so much. You're my favorite artist. Thank you so much for writing this album." I could not get enough of this album. It was Brandy.
Wow.
And what's so crazy is that I've met her. I have her number. I have spoken to her, and more than anything, she likes how I sing, and that is everything to me.
Did you tell her the thing? Did you tell her, "Hey, if it wasn't for you, I'd be blah blah blah"?
I feel like I may have told her that, but I feel like I keep like just saying that I love your voice and have loved your voice forever. I know I said that to her.
Not to harp on this, and because I want to talk about Wicked, and I want to talk about the record, and I want to talk about some of the other roles we know you for. I am curious, though.
Yes.
What was the overachieving click then? Because up until then, this all sounds very pure to me. Like, I love Brandy, I love singing.
It's the father element. It's after, I think it was either 16 or 18, I can't remember. After that split, it starts to become about, I want to prove to you that I'm lovable. I want to prove to you that you lose something by letting go of this. And that's when it started becoming like, I'm going to do well every single time, because you're going to realize that you've lost something, and that doesn't sustain.
Yeah, man, I'm feeling for younger you there,
Yeah, and I've had to take care of younger me for this last couple of years has definitely been about letting her let go of that kind of anger, because it doesn't sustain, and trying to get back to the purity of actually making things because you love it, not just because you're seeking.
My favorite thing about albums like this and conversations, and honest to God conversations like this, is that I think by offering ourselves our own stories up, it offers a mirror for others to look into. And my guess is that probably had something to do with making this record as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because if it's just for you, then yes, it's helpful to you, but if it's because I'm so aware that people have human experiences. We're all human. We have more similar experiences than we realize. And so if I can share some of mine, I can share some of my feelings, what I've been through, then maybe someone is listening and going, oh my goodness, I understand that. That's something I've been through. I get that.
I think a lot of people know you first through The Color Purple. You mentioned this earlier. You were talking about Seeley. In the revival that went in London that eventually went to Broadway, you won a Tony, an Emmy, a Grammy for your work in the musical and its soundtrack. Suddenly, it gets pretty big. Was there a phone call or a conversation or a meeting that you got that made you realize things were changing?
I feel like I've had a weird series of those things. They've happened consistently through my life. So even when I was just on stage, I remember I went for an audition. I did a tour of Sister Act in the UK, and I was in the room, and the director, Jerry Zaks, gave me the role in the room. That changed and everything. Then The Color Purple happened again. I met John Doyle, and he gives me the role. Not in the room. I get it like a month or so later after the audition. But I remember being in the room and singing with the MD, and by the end they were in tears. So I thought, okay, something is connected. That's good. Then whilst we were doing the show in London, I get called into the office and they're like, hey, this is going to Broadway. We're going to take you with it. That changed my life. We go to Broadway, and people come to see, and this is the first time I've experienced people that I've only seen on television or in film or that I love listening to. They've only been on at this point, my phone or my CD player, and I've never met them. They're now in person at the show. That is like, this is a new thing that I have never experienced, and things feel like they're changing. Then I meet Steve McQueen, Widows happens. I meet Deborah Martin Chase, Harriet happens. And it just keeps going on like that. I meet Drew Goddard, Bad Times at the Area happens. And so these kind of things just keep happening. And then as time goes on, these things sort of just keep dotting through my life. Then the audition for Wicked happens, and I honestly tell them, don't tell me anything. I don't want to know anything about what's going on. I don't want to know who's auditioning for it.
Oh, you had to audition. I assumed that was just a, oh my God.
No. I went in. They asked me to. I met with John Chu a couple of times, and then they called me in to do. And the thing is, I went in to do what would be a screen test. So I went in, and it was like a 3-hour chemistry screen test day. There I had material to learn, I had sides to learn, I had songs to learn. So I got myself ready for it. It was the day after I had sung at the Disney Hall with the LA Philharmonic and Gustavo Dudamel. So it was like this weird, juxtaposition of things happening at the same time. So go and do this giant gig, this giant moment with the Philharmonic and one of the biggest conductors in the world, and then come in the next day and be ready to be Alphaba, learn these things. And that's what happened. And then I was in London shooting, I think it was Luther with Idris Elba. Again, very wild for me. And I get this call to say that they were going to have me as Alphaba. So my life has been like a constant sort of ticking over of things that keep surprising me. And I'm endlessly grateful for the fact that life keeps bringing me wonderful surprises. I just have to be open to it, really.
If that's been the run, the series of the series of I don't want to say green lights, but like the series of events that have been, okay, now it's another echelon, or now it's another echelon. I read that you said you were surprised by how connected you felt to Elphaba. And that doesn't feel like her journey. So tell me why you felt connected to her.
Because behind all of the lovely run of things and the moving from one thing to another, I understood what it felt like to not feel welcome in a space. I understood what it felt like to not have the relationship with a parent that you wish you would have, wish to have. I understood what it felt like to feel different. I've always felt really different. I've never felt like I quite fit. And it's hard to put my finger on it, but I've never felt like I really completely belong. I've always sort of like created spaces for myself to feel like I fit in my own space. I've had to sort of learn to get really comfortable in my own skin and in my oddness, I guess. You know what I mean? And that I think is what I connect with when it comes to Alphaba. She just never fit. She'll never fit, but she has to get used to it. She has to not just get used to it, but begin to welcome it.
And if I'm flying solo, at least I'm flying free. To those who ground me, take a message back from me. Tell them how I'm defying gravity.
I heard about you that this is off topic a little bit, but I heard that you were offered the CGI for the greenness of her, and you said no, I want to do the hours and hours and hours of makeup.
Yeah, because it's one thing to imagine that you might be green, but it's quite another thing to see it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. CGI meant you would have had to pretend. Yeah. Right.
And so when it was something really meditative about going from me to Alphaba. Like it took the stages that it took before I got to green, fully green, that her features are in, hair is on. It becomes very different, you understand what people are actually seeing, and also it gives everyone else around you the experience too, so that they don't have to pretend, they see it. And there are people on that set who had never seen me out of the green, so their experience was to meet this green girl, but in real life. So I didn't want to give that up. I wanted to make sure that we all experience what it's like to be the green girl, or be next to the green girl. Yeah.
I got a couple of things on that. And I really appreciate the chat, by the way. Number one, this is more of a funny thing. I heard this story that I think Jim Carrey told this story, that when he was doing the Grinch, they had to bring in he asked them to bring in someone who was good at helping those who had to go through the torture, from the military, to understand what it was like to have hours and hours and hours of makeup put on his face every single day.
Yeah, I can understand, because did he have prosthetics?
Prosthetics, yeah.
For me, it was just makeup. I had prosthetic ears because this is real, and instead of filling everything in, they created a set of ears that were like mine, and then put them over to make sure that we had no piercings. But for me, I kind of loved it. My way of getting through it was making sure that I picked the people around me who were in that trailer with me for hours every day that I liked, who I had spent some time with, who I knew were kind and open to being, and that, we're all human beings, but it was just so, and we have bad days and good days, but I always felt really safe in that space with them. So it meant that those hours a day were really quite pleasurable. It's quite nice. And I could fall asleep sometimes or be up, and I would help get ready as well. It's sort of always hands-on. So if I can be involved somehow, I was always trying to help. Yeah.
But I'm thinking about what you told me when you were saying, hey, I'm offering the real me on this album, and that people think they know me from my roles, and that people think they know me because of press and all that stuff. And I was just reflecting on what you just said about Elphaba and the makeup and all that. I don't know if you're familiar with this quote from the author John Updike, but I think about it a lot. It's that fame is a mask that eats at the face.
I'm not familiar with that. And that can be true, because I think it offers up a preconceived notion of who the person is, and in small sound bites. So you never really get a full picture of a person. And I think fame can sometimes remove a person just enough so a person doesn't have to actually look at the human being beneath all of that. I'd love to I guess I'd love to be able to marry both of those things together. Like the fame is there, sure, and I'm really grateful for it. But the human being exists too. The human being had to exist first before all of the other things come along. I have to be human to do the work, to make it make sense, to make it connected for people to even want to pay attention in the first place. So I think it's healthier for them to be able to walk hand in hand as opposed to two separate things. And it hopefully encourages people to see the person behind all of the things.
Can you tell me about Brick by Brick? I liked that song.
Brick by Brick was probably the hardest song to write on this album.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that I think they're all honest pieces. They're all close to the bone, but this one was probably the one that was closest to me. It speaks of an experience that I had that made me have to figure out really how to put pieces back together again. But it's a piece that I'm really proud of, and I hope that when people hear it, that it helps a lot of people. It makes people feel a little stronger, you know?
I'll tell you that my next question, which is the last question, is not what happened. I promise. I promise. It's. I got a couple of theories actually. Here's I wrote down 5 theories. You would nod, blink 3 times if I'm. There's a part of the song where you repeat the phrase "Don't lose yourself." That felt meaningful. Everything that we're talking about, the Wicked thing was just massive. I mean, it was bigger than movies are these days. The everything you've been telling me about the different transitions that have happened throughout your life, and now that you're about to release this album, I wonder if you can give me something you do, tangibly, really do, to make sure you don't lose yourself.
Good people. I'm very picky about the people around me. I try to keep the people who know me the best and who will pull me up if they need to pull me up, and who will check me if I need to be checked, and who will love on me when I need to be loved. That is the thing that keeps me very centered. I pray because that is what makes the most sense for me. Before I get on to do a performance, before I say lines, before I do a speech, whether it is just to, I always ask, this is the thing I always ask for. I always ask to let whatever song or let whatever words that I say speak to whoever it needs to speak to. And I always ask to be used like to be a conduit to whoever needs to be met where they are. That it isn't just to sing, but it's to connect. And I always ask, without fail, whatever I'm doing, I ask for that before I do it. Physically, I run, I walk, I keep myself active because I feel like it's a meditative thing for me to do. And I'm always careful about what I consume. That's reading, watching, eating. What you feed yourself with is what you become, I believe. So those are the things that keep me.
I have a lot of admiration for you that in an industry that doesn't reward humanity, your effort is to hold on to it. And I got a lot of gratitude for you for both the record and for chatting with me today. Thanks for the time.
That made me feel really emotional, what you just said.
The humanity thing?
Mm-hmm.
It's true, right?
Thank you very much. It means a lot.